Okay, testing. Just trying to make sure everything's set up before we start in 5 minutes. There we go. Okay, sweet. I also tested on my end. I've got my phone with the stream up so I can see chat and stuff. So just check to see how my voice sounded on that. Cool. Hi, sis. How are you? You're just eating some Skittles. Gotcha. -4, 750. It's kind of a late meal. How am I? I'm a bit sore. I'm a little tired, but I think I caught up on sleep even though I got to bed stupidly late. I set my alarm for 11. So things were a little bit hectic. I ran down the stairs to get a bottle of water and make sure everything's set up. I think everything's decent. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's fine. My little brother and I went and mowed mom and dad's lawn before they got back from vacation. We don't have a lawn to mow. Yeah, 11. We don't have a lawn to mow at the townhouse, so it's been a while since I mowed. So, but honestly, overall, I think I'm doing all right. Yeah, it went well. Since it was later in the evening as the sun started to leave, there were more bugs that came out, and you just got to keep going. So I was like sweating a lot, shaking my head to keep the bugs away, and just kept going. I don't think I got bit that much, but anytime I felt something that felt like it could be a bite, I just smacked it. So side of my head, smack. Arm, smack. You hate bugs? I don't hate them. I just hate when they Get up in my grill, yo. Okay, so it is 12 p.m., which was what? 17 UTC? Sounds right. Anyway, 1700, I should say. 5 p.m. UTC, 1700 UTC. So, yeah, smack. Yeah, so like I mentioned, 8 p.m. for you, yeah. Hey, Victor. Oh, wait. Should I not say that? Posh Ferret. Sorry. Yeah, so on URV, what do you want to go by? Yeah, that's my nickname for him. Anyway, so like the Posh Ferret. What? Okay, well, I'll just call you Posh Ferret. So last time, I went. I don't. I think I need a little more structure. But I ended up covering way too many topics. Hey, Ram. Um, and confusing the hell out of everybody, somewhat including myself. Uh, and what I came to the realization of, after explaining what I covered to like my dad and stuff, was that a lot of things you learn through examples. Like you have to have some of the you can't really start just messing around with the conceptual stuff without understanding like the base bones of how it all works. So we learn by example. Ram, I know absolutely nothing about programming. I'm just here to harass people. You're welcome to it. Well, you're gonna learn unless you just turn off your brain, I guess. So, what I wanted to do, because what I was trying not to do last time, because I thought this was a detriment to me, but it was just the fact that I hadn't done enough with programming in different languages. So what happened was I learned C. I learned how to program in C, and I learned the syntax for C, and then trying to learn anything else was just complicated and annoying. Well, the thing is that you kind of just need a refresher when you're switching between languages unless you're working with multiple languages every day. So Google is your friend. If you're a programmer, Google is your friend. Posh Fairy, I don't know anything either, and I'm here for both of the above. Ram, bold of you to assume I have a brain. You be. What was it? No, I can't remember the Wizard of Oz Scarecrow song. I remember the Tin Man, friends with the sparrows and the boy who shoots the arrows. Oh, I can tell you why the ocean's near the shore. I think of things I never thought before, and then I sit and think some more. But now I'm mixing them, because that was Scarecrow. Posh Ferret, the Google of your friend advices to a lot of things as well. I could definitely say the same thing about 3D modeling, for instance. Yeah. Um, yeah, like this is one of the things to take from the last uh, programming with Hoto part one is just that like half of my job is googling shit I don't understand. And if you have to learn like a new language like I had to with Python and now Lua, um, yeah, just kind of Google, see if you can find what a typo. Yeah, Google of your friend instead of Google. Yeah, is your friend. Anyway, so the other thing that I've come to terms with, because as part of learning Lua, like we don't have a project or anything for it yet, so I've just kind of been working on making a text-based adventure game, but I've been trying to make it scalable and a modular design so that it can support a whole bunch of different functionality potentially. Um, and then my friend also mentioned possibly turning it into a MUD, a multi-user dungeon. I didn't even know that was a thing because I never played MUDs. I don't know if I ever actually legit played a text-based adventure game, but I know how they work. So if you're curious about what I was planning to do in terms of programming, I was going to learn Python as my first language. I've got around to it, but I think I'd still go for that first myself. Um, Python's all right. Um, it if you are wanting to return like a whole bunch of different complex types and stuff, it's so much easier and like it looks a lot more clean to do it through Python. But Python is dynamically typed, so that means that you don't have to specify what type a variable is. You just use it and you assign a value to it, and then that determines its type. Do I have any Python? I doubt it. Because I haven't. Nanda. Oh. Yeah, that's nothing I wrote. Nope. Let's see. You think you get it? Python? Um, yeah, well, what. I'm not. The thing that I don't like about Python is that you don't, without running the program and debugging, like setting breakpoints and stopping to evaluate the variable to see what type it is, you don't know unless you like follow the chain of function calls to see what is being returned to set that variable. So that's what I don't like about it, and that was still probably not very straightforward, so I apologize. So what I mentioned, what I wanted to look at today was Visual C Sharp, and you've probably heard of C Sharp, but you didn't. You're like, what's this visual bit? It's just using Visual Studio. Microsoft has an IDE, an integrated development environment, to let you like set up forms and stuff, so you move around controls, and it helps you set up the UI aspect of your application. So let's see. Code projects. So the first thing I wanted to do, I don't think I ever did. Yeah, I think this one was based on Well, Grid Dungeon and Slide Puzzle were both based off of, yeah. I actually have the lab right in there. Actually, let me see. Let me run this and see. This is C++. Oh, yeah. So I was thinking about modifying this program, which was in C++, to turn into a slide puzzle. Which I could do. You've heard me and your dad say C#. Yeah, I just meant the visual. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is the program I used. You can modify the number of grid spaces. And then I drew the Spanish pizza cat wizard. Oh wait, there's no pizza in there. Spanish cat wizard. So, because there's the happiness is a pizza bagel. There you go, there's the lore. Anyway. So let's get into Grid Dungeon. Actually, I'm going to CS305. Labs. No, not that one. Is this one? Yeah, it was this one. Lab 2. So let's just copy that into here. And I have all of my class stuff organized according to year, according to semester. Oh, see old Battleship, RAM. Somehow I can only see piano tiles. Yeah, I mean, same kind of premise, I suppose. Anyway, so yeah, this is what I was basing the Grid Dungeon off of, was this idea where the X's are blocked. So this was a lab that we did in CS305, which was algorithmic structures. So this grid, basically line by line you draw this grid, and then you have to enter a position. So this is your X and this is your Y, and then it'll put you in that position if it's valid, and if not, it won't. So like now we're right here, and then it tells you which directions you can go. So this is kind of similar to text-based adventure game where you teleport, basically. But you can't actually like put in left or right. You have to put in a direction. So yeah. So my thought was, oh, cool. So what if so my original thought was, I just want to modify this program to make it so you can use the arrow keys to move left and right and stuff. But with the console command, you also have to press enter. So you'd have to go like left, enter, right, enter, and left, right, and up don't work the same way that they would normally in the console. So this is just a command prompt, Windows command prompt, and it opens through the code. I'll just show it to you quickly. So yeah, this is where it's getting the user input, this C out and C in, command line out and command line in. So you are reading, so that's how it directly uses command prompt. And then it checks to see if your digit is a string or whatnot. You know, that's UI. So that says like invalid position, you know. you want to make it so that it doesn't allow, different inputs that you're not expecting. If there's a possibility someone would do that. Let's go back to Genie. So Genie is a text editor that you can add a compiler to. And the compiler is how it turns your code into executable, the executable. So like if I build, actually let me show you. I'll delete the executable, and I can't because it's opening here. So try it again. I delete the executable and then I compile it. This is not, okay. Then I build it. Then just from doing those, it recreated the executable, and execute runs that executable. So when you run a program, what you're doing is you're running an executable, a .exe. Like you've heard of Paint, Microsoft Paint. I can run Microsoft Paint from the command line, but you have to run the executable, which is called mspaint.exe, and you can either add the exe or not include the exe, and it'll run it if it finds an exe. Okay. Is everyone lost? I kind of devolved a little bit from what I wanted to talk about. Okay, Xeal is lost. So, I mean, it might be different for different operating systems, but on Windows, an executable, like the program that you run, is just a .exe file. Heck, you know what? Let's look at Discord. No? Okay, never mind. What? Properties, there we go. So when you click Discord here, it's actually a shortcut, and the target of that shortcut is C users, my name, app data, local, Discord. So if I go here, there it is. So if I run Discord, all I need to do is run this. Like if I double click this, that runs Discord. I have Discord open, so that's not a great example. And then if you look at my desktop, which is a mess, you see anywhere there are shortcuts. If you right click on something that's a shortcut and go to properties, and under target, it will show you where you need to find it. So yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go too fast. Do we have any questions before I continue? Sorry, do you have any questions? Because so far I've been talking more about um, some of the conceptual stuff. Mostly because it's fascinating to me. Okay. Posh Ferret, you're good. Um, so when I tried to do this stream before, which you won't find because it was so short notice. I didn't give anyone any notice. I'm just like, I'm gonna do this, and then I was trying to explain some stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about, and then I felt pretty bad, but I realized that I don't need to, I don't have to have all the answers. Um, I've got multiple years of schooling. I have a good idea of how things work, but I'm not an expert, and that's okay. So, come to terms with my own abilities. All right, so Seal's good. Ram died. So, let's go into this. So when I double click on this .sln, it runs the Visual Studio executable. You know how there's like this open, or you can say open with, and you can choose. It detects it as a Microsoft Visual Studio solution. So teaching others is a great way to refresh knowledge. Yeah, I not only that, but also just to learn. It's like, okay, so to reinforce what you've finally come to terms with, because part of the teaching is sometimes you have to present the information in a different way than you would usually think about it. It's like, oh, I don't understand what you mean. So you have to come up with a different way for somebody to understand it. So at any time, just, stop me. But so now that you saw what I was kind of basing this off of, this really simple premise, you have an ASCII maze where the walls are defined by these X's as boundaries, and you can walk anywhere in here. I wanted to turn this into like a top-down dungeon crawler kind of thing. But I wanted to make it so you could use the left, right, the directional keys to move. And so I had to go away from using the console because using the directional keys does nothing. So let's just get into it. So Visual Studio, if you've never seen it before, like I said, it's Microsoft's integrated development environment, IDE. You're updated. Oh, that's not good. Oh, good. Okay. It's thinking hard. Goodbye. Okay. This is less janky and exploding. There we go. Are you gonna crash again? Okay, I don't even know if I have the engine in a runnable state. Let me see. View code. Oh, yeah. I remember. Oh, okay, okay. So I just hard coded it. So, well, this is the editor. No, that's not what I want. I want the engine. Oh. Engine. Okay. Alright, so this is the basis of my grid dungeon game. Instead of using the X's, I used these special ASCII characters. And so for the walls, and right now I just kind of pasted those in there. So if we look, so this is what I meant by the visual aspect. So this is your form. You know, you open up any, well, Windows Explorer is a good one. By the way, if you do the Windows button and E, it opens Windows Explorer. So this is a form. You know, it's got the minimize, maximize, exit, all that stuff. And this is the whole basis of, you know, Microsoft Windows, was having these windows, and they're just called forms in Visual C#. So there's not a lot going on controls wise here. We have the form, and I clicked on it. Its name is FRM main, form main. To keep track of what kind of control, you put a little prefix on the beginning, and then there's some text, grid dungeon game, that's what shows up right here. You can also change the icon, which is defaulting to this thing. You can disable some of the buttons. You can get rid of the maximize button. You can fix the size of the form so you can't resize it. Let's see, that's border. Form border style. It's on sizable right now. So if I run it, I can do this, which is stupid. I should not let it do that. So to stop that, I set form sizable, form border style to fixed single. Oh, I need to save. There we go. There we go. Now I can't. Doesn't give me the option. So now these characters in here. Yeah. Okay, so this is just two controls. It is the form, and then this rich text box is what it's called. So there's just a normal text box, then a rich text box. I don't know, has some other options. Scroll bars, which I'm not using in this case because I wanted to make it all the text fit within this rich text box within, and not have it, you know, change size or anything. And the text is right here. It looks like that. So these characters are all the same number of spaces. Was there something that I set? Was it the font? Yeah. I think it's because I set this font to Courier New, which is that? I didn't change anything, though. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember how I did this now. But there are different fonts where every character takes up the same amount of space, and that's what's happening here. But when you look at how I had to enter the text, they don't line up at all. It's like I do this. No. And then I do this, and it pops over by 2. So I like had to manually figure out how far to stick them so that they lined up. Right, so that's the game engine. So the game engine is what your game runs in. And then the game editor is how you like set up the game, how you make how you make different levels and, you know, hook up all of the elements of your game. And ideally, I haven't figured out exactly how I want to do that yet, but ideally what you want to do... Where is it? I don't... Oh. Neat. Oh, that's my enumeration. Got it. Right. So, ideally what you want to do is you want to have all the components for your game. It's like, how do you make a character? How do you make an environment and whatnot? And you make it so that your game editor lets you stick all those pieces together. Then you save that off as your game, and then you load it into your game engine to run it. So your game engine contains all of the functionality to run the game, some of which can just be inherent to the game entities themselves, I think. See, this is where I'm unsure exactly how to split things up between the game engine and the game itself. Anyway, so let's take a look at the grid dungeon, the game editor. So I called this game Grid Dungeon, which made sense. Okay, so we want the editor. This is the designer, and it's kind of... No, I didn't make any changes. Go away. Now, this is the Grid Dungeon editor. And what I wanted to be able to do was, okay, yeah, I wanted to be able to save off, build up a map in here, and then save that map off that it could be loaded into the game. So the game would have to say, like, what I'm kind of thinking right now is that the there would be like a folder full of the different dungeon maps for the different levels, and then the game would decide which levels to use in what order, maybe what enemies would go in and items and stuff, or that could some of that could just be stuck in the level itself, which would be easier. So the idea here was, this is just a text box. You just think of it as a text box. And I wanted to make it so that you could select the different elements from this list box, is what this is. It's list box items. You select one of those, and then you could paste it into the text box. It's really, it's very simple. It's not like this is set up as a grid and you just have to, like click on the one you want and then stick the thing in there. Could do that, but I kind of wanted to keep the same style as this. Have it be more like a just kind of amped up version of that program. So if we run the grid dungeon editor, right now I have it set up with these different options. And then if I do I have, okay, I gotta see how I have this set up. I don't know if I have this working yet. View code. Form load values. Oh yeah, this is where the shit gets complicated. Process command key. I have to do Control C. Okay. I think that was a bit. So I gotta do this, then I do Control C, then Control V. No? Okay. So now I'm gonna do a little debugging to see what's actually happening here. So this process command key should get called when I try to use the keyboard. Except it got called when I... Oh, fudge. Okay, I know what happened. Yeah, that's not gonna work. As soon as I press Control, it goes in here. Alright. We're going to take a step back before I try to analyze this. It's going to go over to this one again because I wanted to point something out. So, in a text box, I'll explain this. In a text box, well, take something simple like Notepad. You see how it's got the little flashing icon. RY. What are we making? Right now I'm just kind of explaining this little game that I was creating based off of a lab that I did in CS305, algorithmic structures in college. So what I wanted to point out though, no, that's the editor. Darn it. So you type something, right? And then you have the little flashing icon. Well, I didn't want to have the flashing icon, you know? So like the only way that you can, there's no flashing icon no matter where I click. Also, I can't highlight, like it's a temporary thing. I made it so that doesn't work either. All right, so if we take a look at the code for that, okay, so first off, I didn't know it because I thought caret was like this thing, but apparently the flashing icon to show you where to stick text is also a caret. So I had to Google how to do this, but you import this DLL, which is a dynamic linked library. I'm gonna go too in detail with that, but basically it's a file that you can include that has a bunch of different functions and stuff that you can call. So, but it's a C++ DLL, which is why you have to do it this way to import it. So, oh, that's how I did it. I need to rename this because that says timer care hide tick. Change that to caret, and then I want to rename the control as well, which is right here. Timer caret. So I just have a timer that's set to 100 milliseconds. Every 100 milliseconds, it goes and hides the caret. That's all it does. And I think that the reason why I have to do it this way is because otherwise it'll just keep flashing. It doesn't matter if you click, if you're not clicking somewhere else. You just have a text box, and then you have a caret, and it'll just keep flashing unless you tell it not to, I guess. So yeah, so that's all that does. That's a very short time, exactly. And so that makes sure that you never see the caret. If every 100 milliseconds it hides the caret, you're not going to see it. In fact, that might be too fast, but if we ran into any performance issues, like the game was lagging and stuff, we could make it so that it refreshes less often than that. But it would also depend how often it refreshes. Like one Mississippi. I know, it might be every second. Yeah, it might be every second. So I could modify that from 100 milliseconds to 1000 milliseconds, which is a second. Heck, we could try it, see what happens. Adventure. I'm still not seeing it. Okay. But now if we stick it up to 2000, I think we'll see one caret every... No? $5,000? This may not be doing what I think. Do I have other functionality that already is disabled? You know what? Let me see if this is actually getting called. Oh, it also hides the caret if I click the mouse. And it hides the caret when I load the map. Okay, you know what? Let's try. I'm going to comment out these lines so that they don't do anything. The compiler just ignores them. There we go. So now you're seeing the caret. Okay, so now let's put this one back in. And since I'm not clicking anywhere, yeah. So it's not hiding it often enough that we see the caret. So let's try now. Okay. No, don't do that. No, don't. Stop pinning things. Gosh darn it, I have everything messed up now. This is the editor. That's the engine. That's the editor. Okay. I may not need this timer. Let's see what happens if I just do this. So when it loads the map, it hides the caret. So when it loads this form, when the form first pops up, it hides the caret. Now if I click, okay, yeah, I don't even need the timer. So the timer's down here. I'll just get rid of it. Save, and now there is no reference. Final references. There are no references to this event, so I'll get rid of it. And now we run. Yeah, it works. Good to know. Cool, so that's already better. Oh, okay, that's what I did. So I made the rich text box RTB map. I made it read only, which means that I can't type anything. But if you don't hide the caret, then the caret's still there. What did tab stop do? Gets or sets a value indicating whether the user can give the focus to this control using the tab key. Okay. I guess that wasn't strictly necessary. No, I think, yeah, that was to make it so that the only way that I needed to hide the caret was by clicking on it. And then I hide the caret. All right, so that's the whole guts of the game engine so far. The map that I have loaded is just hard-coded. It's just here in the text field. So I'd want to modify the game engine so that it loads the, well, it doesn't just load the map, but it loads the game that has the set of maps in it in whatever order. I want to load that into I want to, boot up the game in the game engine instead of having it hard-coded like this. And when I say hard-coded, I mean that instead of passing in a variable or, dynamically setting something. You just set it to a value and you don't care about you don't have to worry about like input or how it gets those values. You just set them. So like I don't have it dynamically. No, this isn't a good example. Okay. So it's RY or Rye. I don't know. What do you want me to call you? How long have I been programming for? Okay, so I kind of explained this for anyone who watched the first stream, but you know the first stream's kind of a mess. Anyway, let's see. First time that I like legit did any programming, my dad, who's an electrical engineer, he was working he's working for a different company now, but he was working he was working on something at home. Like he had a bunch of stuff up on his computer, and his computer was in the living room. And he was working on something, and we're not supposed to do this, but I was sitting on the arm of the sofa to look at what he was doing, and I was, just asking some questions like, what are you doing? And then I asked him if there's any way I could help, and he's like, yeah, you could learn Visual Basic 6. So I said, all right, I'll try that. And so he gave me this book. I don't want to open up Google Chrome because it's being stupid at the moment. I'm going to pull up the book just for reference, but it's Microsoft Sam's Teach Yourself Visual Basic 6 in 21 Days or Less, I think is what it was called. Yeah. Don't remember which one. It's probably like that. That looks right. So yeah, it just had like a tutorial. It explained basics of Visual Basic 6, and which is simpler than Visual Basic, and some other stuff. And I did it in more than 21 days, but then I'm like, okay. As I was going through it, I'm like, hey, there's a control called the command button, and the command button, let me see, I'm pretty sure. I'll just save. I don't know what I did, but command button, size to whatever, and then there should be image, yeah. So what I thought was, oh, I have a button and I can click it and I can change the image, so I can make the game memory. So I had this idea to make the game memory, but I didn't really know how to implement it, and so Dad helped me. I don't think it's on this computer. Pretty sure it's not. Yeah, it's not. But maybe I could show that sometime if I can get a hold of it. It's on the desktop. the old desktop that runs Windows XP. So let's see. That was when I was in high school. I want to say 2000. Was that senior year? Senior year was when I did marching band. So probably not. So 2012 maybe? Windows XP, that's old. Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. But I wasn't like avid programmer. I even made like a little birthday card for mom that was just a program where you had to click a bunch of labels and buttons and stuff. And like you make them invisible and visible. I can show you what that means. So like if I take this rich text box map and I set its visibility to false and then I run it, you can't see it. You can't even click on it. I'm pretty sure you can't click on it. But then if I go into load and I just make it so that I always want this to be visible, I can just set its visibility to true. And so setting its visibility to true after the fact nullifies setting it to false in the designer. And this is the designer. So let's change this back. Visible true. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, no, go, no, no. Okay. Make sure everything still runs. Cool. So I started off with Visual Basic 6, and then when I didn't do a whole lot with it other than the memory game, but made it so you could have like different difficulties, and it kind of has the same graphics look as Minesweeper, for anybody who's played Minesweeper. I don't know, that might be fun to show. Maybe I could just make it again, seeing as I know how to. Wow, I never really. Oh, would that be Visual Basic 6? Could do in Visual Basic, in Visual C# maybe. Posh Ferret, heh. Yeah, so then when I got into college, it went from visual stuff to just C, and then there was some programming of microcontrollers and stuff, making motors run at certain RPMs. Just different things you could do with an Arduino Uno and a Duo Millenove. I think that was all in EE 107, Introduction to Computer and Electrical Engineering 2. So I learned C, and then I learned C++ from the computer science classes that I took. So CS 101, CS 305. Hi. Hello. Let's cuddle.
Briefly.
He is conscious.
Marginally.
Marginally conscious. So And then, what else did I learn? I learned some assembly. I learned MIPS and ARM on what? Was it Dragon? Is Arduino? No. AVR. AVR Dragon. I can't remember the other one. I also did some stuff with Verilog and VHDL, but never really got to really understanding that. My first internship, they taught me C#, or more, they just had a whole bunch of videos for me to watch, and I did, and I took a lot of notes. That's most of what I did at that internship. But then I was able to apply that at the second internship, which is where I got my job that I've now been at for 2 years. Well, I've been at for over a year now. And then most of what I've been doing is C#. I converted Visual Basic program to C#. Well, I actually converted the forms. That was a pain in the ass. I also converted something that, well, I mean, that was the whole project, was converting a Visual Studio 2008 application to run in a Visual Studio 2010 2017 application. No, it's 2010 to 2017. Anyway, there was a lot of stuff that I had to change, like library references, because they didn't exist, and it was a pain. And then I learned Python at my current job for some machine learning stuff, and then I was teaching myself Lua. So let's see, if I'd have to guess, I'd say 7 years that I've been programming for, but like, I'm not diligent. I've just had a whole bunch of ideas, and my problem is that I overthink, and I realize that it's kind of the same reason that I hated writing, was like the blank paper. Except that was just more like I need to get something down on the paper. With this, I feel like, I have enough knowledge, programming knowledge, that I should be able to make a game or a program that's really nice and fleshed out. But I have to, realize that I've never done it before. So there's a lot of things, and that it's okay if I don't do it perfectly. I don't want to turn out a program that's shoddy just for the sake of getting some experience. I still want it to be good. So, and my friend, he's like, he said, he was just explaining to me how you can do some crazy shit in Super Mario 64, and he's like, this is jank as shit, but it's such a good game. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And that's what I've been struggling with. Keep thinking, like, do I actually want to do this? And I'm pretty sure I do. I keep psyching myself out. So I just need to give myself a kick in the tush. And that's why I'm here right now. Because after the last attempt at streaming, I thought, I don't even know if I should be doing this, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I can learn. You can learn from what I know. I can learn in addition, so it's not bad. Like where I'm at now, it's not bad. It's not bad for me to try to do game design. The one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to use somebody else's pre-made game engine. Like I don't want to use Unity or something. I want to set it all up by myself, because my first experience was using Axiom 3D and I couldn't get it to work. There's some incompatibility, and then my dad's like, why don't you just make your own game? So we started making a text-based adventure game in C#, and that just kind of floundered because I never really got back to it. So I don't know, I've just never really gone from start to finish and made a game. So at this point, my question to you guys, because with a game like Memory, you don't really need to go through and make it so you have a game engine and game editor and stuff. You can do that all just as one application. But my question to you guys now that I've shown you, well, actually, you know what? I can show you one more thing. Let me see if it crashes like Grid Dungeon did. Binary mapping viewer. Okay. So the whole idea with this... Woo! Oh, I don't have the hex editor. So this is just some random hex data. Okay, so there was at work, there's an application that we use where it saves off RAM data and calibration data into these .dat files, which are just hex files. So they don't have any format. It's just a whole bunch of binary data. And so my idea was to have an application where you specify what the format is of the data that you're saving into this file. Like, what are all the different variable types? What are their names and stuff? As well as address, like the offset within the file. And then it would populate this side with all of the values and or all of your variables or whatever it is and the values. So like if it was a binary, it would say like true or false. An integer, it could say -123 or 123. If it was a float, it could say 2.759, that kind of stuff. And as you can see, this already has a whole bunch more controls. I have a load button where I can go to, and I can actually modify this so that it saves the last place that I loaded from, so that I could just try going there. Code projects, binary mapping viewer, random numbers. Uh-oh. Index. All right. Anyway, so it would show you like the binary here. Or you could switch to the hex format. And then it would show your hex data. Select, oh. Actually, you know what? I can show you that. No, it's disabled. Never mind. Yeah, so the name, the type, and the byte offset. Wait, I need the value in there too. Yeah, so this is definitely a more complicated program, but it's not a game. You know, you just have some binary data that's of a certain format. You specify what the format is, and then it displays the binary data here, and it displays it parses out all of the data, and it sticks the results here in a readable format. So I thought that would be useful, because I actually had to go through and troubleshoot why it wasn't saving the calibration data correctly, and I had to go compare the binary data. Well, it was in a hexadecimal format, but it was still a pain in the ass. All right, so we're going to take a break for questions, and I also have a question for you guys. Do you want me... well, I could try to explain more of what's going on with the binary mapper, or do you want me to keep working on the grid dungeon, or do you want us to start on a new game? So that's my question for you. And now if you guys have any questions... All right, Seal. I don't know. That wasn't one of the choices. All right. Posh Ferret says, let's try something new. Something funky fresh. Posh Ferret, also, if it's all right, I must go AFK for a few minutes. So if it's not all right, you must not. Now you can go. I shan't hold you here against your will. So we can resume when you get back. Does anyone else have questions? Okay, so Posh Ferret is AFK. Who's still here? Kind of curious. Seal raise his hand. Yep, you're still here. It might just be you at the moment. If it's still considering me in the chat. Because I am. I got my phone set up on a little charging stand. So I can look at the comments. And it's far enough away from my mic that it shouldn't be causing any static. Ooh, right. Welcome back, Posh Ferret. So, we want to do something new. Which means that I get to explain the process. Alright, so, what do we want to make? I mean, we could just do memory. Alright, I'll be right back. Discuss amongst yourselves. I don't know if I'd go that deep though. Neural networks are toddlers. Okay, I'm back. What we got? Alright, welcome back. What should we do? Snake! Okay, do we actually have a list or just whatever we want? We weren't given one. Snake sounds fun. Alright, we're gonna do snake then. This will be interesting. Let me just... Alright, snake notes. I never thought about making snakes, so this is kind of interesting. Okay. What do we need for snake? So, assume you all know what snake is. Let's see. So what I'm thinking right now is we want a grid. And then we're going to need to keep track of the segments, snake, and we need to have the food, that pops up. Is it only one? Snake should start out as a 3x1. Wow. We're just keeping a by one snake, right? We don't want it to become like a chonky python. Like that'd be interesting. Okay, well, don't know about the length, but it's just 1 square wide. Yeah, I mean, if we had a snake that got thicker, that would definitely make it. Yeah, I mean, we could always scale it up, make it so that we can add that functionality later. So we want a 1 pixel wide snake. Start length 3 pixel. And actually, I'm going to call these cells because they're not actually a pixel. So they're just cells of the grid. If we want to make it fancy, eating too much food too fast is going to make our snake real thick. Yeah, I mean, technically, no, wait, they do get bigger. But it's not based on how much food they eat, it's just over time. It also depends on the snake. Well, we can be fancy later. 1 food increases the length by just 1 cell. Right. Right. I can mark that. One food increases length by 1 cell. Okay, so so do we only want to have 1 food at a time? Do we want to be able to have like multiple food pop up at the same time? Do we want multiplayer snake? Are these things that we want to consider in the future? Maybe a few foods at a time? Okay. Do we want to limit on how many foods? Okay, let's go with multiple. That makes sense with our fattening feature. Well, if we had made it so that the snake could get wider, we could also make it so that there could be different sizes of food, kind of like Katamari vibe going in. The snake has to get big enough to eat the food. Slither.io is kind of multiplayer snake already. Yeah, but I mean, that is essentially what Slither.io is. Let's make it about max 3 or 4 food cells at a time. Max of But this wouldn't have the feature where you can run away from other snakes by going faster. I don't know, just things to consider. But if you do like multiplayer, you do online multiplayer, then you gotta have a server and you gotta spin up separate instances and make sure that everything's synced up. So max is 3 or 4 food. Okay. And then the food, and this is how game projects go out of control. Yeah, this is my brain, man. So let's just keep it simple. Right, exactly. So, but the thing that I think about is how can we make it like, scalable? You want a modular design where things are kind of split out into separate functionality where it's easy to like plug in new stuff and add features and whatnot. Um, Max of 3 or 4 food at a time. So do we want that to be on a timer where more food shows up? I think that makes sense. Because that way, um, you wouldn't always have the max number of food. Okay, perhaps we can make the amount of food customizable. Uh, you mean the max amount customizable? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we've got user inputs max amount of food. 1,000 foods. I'm joking. Default 3, max possible 20. I like that. That means that we can use numeric up down. Okay, so default. And it doesn't have to be a super involved process. It doesn't have to be the greatest game ever. And just going through the process of making it is fun, I think. Yeah, so default user sets max amount upper okay, so lower max is 3, upper max is 20. I'm just gonna write it here. Use a numeric up down control to set max food. Okay, so this is the thing with my projects is like I want it to be, good and to be something that's actually fun to use and whatnot. So yeah, so I get to. It's less about the process and more about the final result, and then I just kind of overwhelm myself. But now that I'm doing it with you guys, it's definitely a different dynamic. All right, do we have any other things that we want to consider? Does the speed of the snake change? Only if it gets thicker. Okay, the speed doesn't need to change. Yeah, so over time, we don't change the speed of the snake. Do we want to have it so for a different difficulty, the snake moves faster? Sure, okay. Change snake speed with difficulty. Okay. So I want to be able to change difficulty. Yeah, can do. All right. This will be a menu drop down. I don't remember the name exactly of the control. Okay. I think that's a good basis to start from. Okay, so let's make a snake. All right, so the two programming with Hoto folders are now cake and snake. Was this planned? Is the next one gonna be a horror game called Rake? You laughed out loud. Okay, so the way Visual Studio works is you have a solution, a rage game named Rage. That probably exists. Fun fact, the name of our junior design project was, it was a handheld gaming console called the Arduino Rage, the Radical Arduino Game Engine. The Pretendo Rage, yeah. Not Nintendo, Pretendo. Our next game is going to be Lake, where you play as a snake trying to transport cake across a lake. Oh, is this one of those snakes that can swim? I forget what snakes can... Adder? Adderhead? Can adderhead swim? Oh, adders. Adder swimming in the new forest has been filmed. I forget too, but that's the one. Yeah. Okay, so, right. So the way that Visual Studio works is you have a solution, and within that solution you can have multiple different projects. So like, I had the grid dungeon editor and the grid dungeon engine as two separate projects within the grid dungeon solution. And for this one, I think we are only going to need one project, but first we need to make a solution. And so we go to project, file, new project, and then Visual C#, go under other project types. Well, actually, I don't need to do that. It'll create a solution if I just do a project. So let's go, we want a Windows form application under Visual C#. There are other languages. So there's Visual Basic, C++, JavaScript, Python? Install Python tools. So there's no Python currently, but here's some C++. Anyway, so we're going to do C#, Windows Forms application, and we're going to browse to, how to do this? Oh, it was Ingrid Dungeon. So we're going to go in Program with Hoto. We're going to go in Snake and select folder, and we're going to name this Snake. Oh, that was weird. So now that's going to be the name of our solution, and this will create a directory for the solution within our Snake folder. Let's do it. Okay. All right, so here's the solution is Snake, and then it tells us how many projects are in it. And right now we have one project, which is Snake. I'm going to change the name of the project to Snake Game. Now if we look in our Snake folder, we have Snake, and then here's the solution, and in here this is the project, is this folder, and then this is our .cs proj, which is what our project is. Then we have the designer, the form, like the code for the form, the designer, which is the code that shows us all of the controls and stuff on the form, and then program. And all program does is it opens up our form. Currently, that's all it does. It sets some stuff and then runs the form. So we don't mess with program. Also, the namespace is Snake. So that's these using statements. I don't think we're going to really have to get into that. But just to keep track. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to change the name of this from form1 to FRM Snake. All right, so first thing, let's go into size. And we can make it so that we could change the size of the form, but I think for now, Mursko woke up to say hi. Well, did he? Or did he just wake up to and then he didn't actually deliver? So I'm just going to set it to 500 by 500 pixels. That's a good starting size, you think? He came next to you and meowed. All right. Oh. Hi, Murska. Well, now he's in your lap. Woo! Cat updates. Let's seal. All right. So. All right. So this is part of like the fun stuff we get to do, designing a game, setting up the UI. What do we want the form to say? Like we open this application and it just says It's a snaky snake. You just, oh, okay. In all caps. Snake. You want one exclamation point or two to match up with the folder? Snake. These are the important questions. I'll leave it like this for now. All right. So we can change our icon. But there is no icon file. I mean, you can load something that's not an icon. Oh wait, that's not what I wanted. Do we want a little... Is this? Can't see the full name. What is? It is a snake.ico. So let's just I don't know. Want a cartoony one? There's this. There's this. We'll just go with the derpy one if I don't. Okay. Xil says cute. We'll go with it. Save image as. So this is a .ico file, which is exactly what we need. And now I want to go to Documents, Code Projects, Program with Hoto, Snake. Snake. Wait. Hold up. I want... Yeah, I want to have a graphics folder. Let's add a graphics folder. If there are any other graphics we want. Stick it in here. Folder. Graphics. And then, I believe, let's see, I go to project, show all files, and then I can include in project. There we go. So now our graphics file folder, we can see what's in it from Visual Studio. So let's save image. Let's just do this. Code projects. Program with Hoto, snake, graphics. Save. Let's change the name of it though. To just snake. Cool. So we have a snake. Right. So now is it not gonna show it? Include in project. There we go. There it is. There's the snake. Okay. Go back here, show all files, turn that off. Okay, cool. We're good. So now I can change the icon to the snake. Yay! All right, so we got that done. Now what we want is cute. I think what we want for now is I think what's the easiest, instead of doing a menu drop down, is just prompt user for max food and difficulty. And I'm going to save this file. Save as. Go up. Go in. Snake. Here. Cool. And change this to snake notes. And then it should append the .text. There we go. Snake notes.text. Woo! All right, so. It's cute. Yay. Little snake. Whose was it? Oh, it's just an icon archive. That's neat. All right. Okay, so how big do we want the grid to be? Like, why don't we bring up a reference image of snake? Try to get an idea. It's just a video game genre. Open up some classic. Okay. Yeah. So you can do a whole bunch of different complicated stuff. And this snake is actually thick. Okay then. Okay, so, and there's slither.io. It's an apple? Whee! Okay, so we can change the color of the snake versus the food and whatnot. But first we need to figure out our grid. Probably. Oh, panel. Enables you to group collections of controls. Let's click this and see what. Is it like a group box? No. Let's get rid of that. Split container. I just go to all forms, all controls, domain, flow layout panel. Okay. Panel seems like something we could use. But at this point, we need... Wait, I thought I didn't rename this. What I did. There we go. Form snake, form snake. So this is the form. And if we click on the designer, this is the code that generates what we have so far. So there's the name of the form, and here's snake, and here's where it loads our icon. So that's the code that makes this show up like this. So we don't really mess with the designer. Okay. Well, one thing we don't want is for this to be resizable. Like, we don't want people to resize it. So form border style, fixed single. Now let's run it. There we go. There's a snake. So this box right here should be 500 by 500 pixels. Now one thing, I think this is we want to center when we open the program, we want it to pop up in the center of the screen. Right? Because right now it's popping up right here. I mean, that's all right, I suppose. And that'll be defined by the left and top. Okay, location. Oh, they... Okay. I see. They just changed it to X and Y versus left and top. The way the programs usually work is that this is the top of the screen. So that's 0, 0. And then that's all the way. So that's why they defined it as left and top. But that's not the case, I guess, with... I don't know if it's just with Visual C# in general or with this version, which is 2015 Community Edition. This is free, by the way, if you find a Community Edition of Visual Studio. So we have our little snake icon. It says snake. Made it so you can't resize it. Now we need our grid. Actually, do we want to center the... We could always do that later. Is everybody following so far? I could also change the... I think I could change the color of that. That's the 4 color. Background image. Back color is this color. I could change that. And the other colors. Transparency key? Nah, doesn't matter. Okay, more or less. Yeah, we haven't done anything spectacular so far. Now it's time to Google. Alright, let's go here. We have our icon, so I don't need to still be here. So C#, grid, example. No, not what I'm looking for. Uniform grid? Oh, yeah. Oh, but that's WPF, which is Windows Presentation Foundation, versus Windows Forms, which is what I'm using. Okay, let's see. Let's think. All right, let's see. I gotta put in WinForms to avoid getting the XAML results. No. What the heck? Oh, here we go. What is the point of this space? Okay. Get value, first column dependency. No, we don't need to go that up. I think. How do I want to do this? I could just draw the grid, potentially. Wait, there's just a uniform grid class? To arrange content in a grid. So this is in, oh, presentation framework. I mean, I could potentially use it in WinForms, although I don't think I have direct access to that namespace. I like to separate the namespaces that I'm using from the namespaces. Okay, no. Presentation framework.dll. .NET Framework 4.8. Yeah, we're not. Okay. One sec. Okay, so no, I actually do kind of want to find it. I can also see if it's something that I have to add with NuGet. I don't think it is. No. D64 SXS. Oh, I'll wait for that to finish. Okay, the first thing I think we should do is just make the pop-up box to let you choose the lower, upper, or the max food and the difficulty. Yeah, so that's going to be the easiest thing. We'll just take this, one step at a time. I'll be right back. Okay. I am back. So, the first thing we need so there are two ways we can do it. I feel like we could either have it so you choose from drop down. No. No, let's just do it this way. So we need a separate second form. So we go to add new item. And then we go to Windows form and we choose the name of the form, and this is going to be form prompt or form set game. No, I think prompt is better. So this is just going to be a small it's going to be a small form that will pop up, and you will choose which options you want. You'll set the max food and you'll set the difficulty. Right, so what I want it to say, that was this one. Okay. Let's make it a little bigger. We also want to fix the size of this. And I want it to be a fixed dialogue. Now I will explain why in a bit, but choose game settings. All right. Okay, so you need a button for confirming. You can just have it say start game. You can change the size of the font. You can change the font. Woo, start game. I don't know. Moonbeam, that's kind of hard to read. This is just UI stuff. Wow. Start game. Make it bold oblique. We could change the font of the other stuff too. We can change the font of Snake here. We can make it the same. Bold oblique. Never mind, we can't. Maybe that depends what type of form it is. What? Okay, that's weird. Nope, that didn't change anything. Okay, put that back. All right, so got a fancy ass button. You can change a bunch of different things. The flat style pop-up. I kind of like that better. Standard system flat. So if you do flat, then it doesn't depress. Uh, let me change this to enter game. Settings. Okay, so we have, this is our pop-up form. We put a button on it to start the game. That currently does nothing. We enter our game settings. And we need, okay, what do we need? So we need to choose from the difficulties, and we need to have the, let me see, the numeric up down. Okay, so what we want, thinking, toolbox, let's just go to, no, common controls. Choose the difficulty first, and for the difficulty, I want just a combo box, displays editable text box. Yeah, but I don't want to let you enter text, so let's just stick that there for now. And then we want to have a difficulty. Let's change this combo. So I put CBO, doesn't matter. Difficulty. And label. So this is just a UI. I mean, you can click on labels too, but they don't like depress like a button does. So I'm going to call this label difficulty to tie them together basically. And then I'm just going to have this say difficulty. I don't need that space. And then I can make it so that this hooks there. You know what? Let's try doing the same fancy nasalization. Ooh, yeah. Difficulty. Difficulty reading. Can I change the font here too? I can. Woo! Here. And we can change this to something else if you want. I'm just messing around at this point. Okay, so we have a difficulty, and we can stick the different difficulties in there. Items. So we go into items, and then we put easy, hard, squid. I don't know. How's your day? I had a chainsaw. It was dope. Alright. So now we have options in there. Okay. And then we need max food. So I'll call this label max food. Also, I just copy pasted. You can also control click drag, but that has some weird effects. Wow. Specifically, it will tie that control to the same event as the other control. So I can explain that later if we get to that point. Max food. Now let's line these up. All right. This is already looking fancy. Now we need a numeric up down. Well, we don't, but I think it'd be easier. So a numeric up down is pretty nice because you just let's just change how this is laid out a little bit, because this doesn't need to be super big. Although I don't want people to accidentally click start. I'm using the left or the directional keys just to move everything. That'll work. Okay, so for directional, for a numeric up down, you set its minimum and maximum, and then you set the current value. Like you can just set the value, but basically it'll just go through each of the numbers, and they have to be decimals. So that's another reason why this is nice. So it'll be an integer. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever. I think you can also have negatives. So one thing I want to do, let's do it. Let's make a globals. So we don't have to, we can keep some variables or some values in globals so everything has access to them. And that way we don't have to keep, like we don't have to just set the values in the form snake and form prompt. We can just set them in globals and have it get the values from globals. So new item, we want a class, and I'll just call this globals. Cool. So, and now I'm going to make this public and static. And that means, so this is a different file from everything else, but it means that other files will be able to access it because it's public. Static means that I won't have to make an instance of this class in order to access these values. So let's do public const for constant. Lower max food equals 3. Oh, I forgot to set the type to int for integer. Actually, it should probably be a decimal, because that's the type that numeric up down is looking for. And then set the upper max food to 20. Okay. How lost is everybody so far? Okay, so let's go back to form prompt design, and I just want to go into the form prompt, and I want to view the code, because what I want to do, I don't want to do it in the constructor for form prompt. I'll just double click to create the form prompt load. So when it loads this form, it's going to set these values. So here's what I want. I want to set, oh wait, I didn't set the name of the numeric up down. Set it to num max food. Label max food, num max food, cool. So I want, since I'm using the values that I'm setting here, I'm programmatically going to set the upper and lower, the minimum and maximum of this numeric up down, instead of just doing it in the designer, because then I have to set a value. Actually, you know what? Let's see. If I go into the designer and I go to the numeric up down, num max food, can I just set it here? The problem though is that if you change things in the designer, this is auto created, so it might just wipe it out. So I would not recommend doing that. So let's just do it this way. Form prompt load. Also, if I do 3 slashes, then it auto creates a template. So if I now mouse over this, oh, do I have to save first? This does stuff. There we go. Hello, dog. Yeah. So now, if you run into a situation where you're using this function, well, it's called a method in C#, then you can mouse over, and it'll tell you like things specifically about this argument, hello, this argument, dog. And then if for the whole thing, that's shows the summary. So this is XML comments. I'm not gonna really worry about that. So, but yeah, no. And then I want to have 3 spaces between my methods. Just to keep things nice and see where one starts and the next one goes. You would want to have like a whole bunch of comments and documentation, but right now there's not enough stuff to really worry about that. So let's just set the numeric up down. So num max food, let's set the minimum equal to globals dot lower max food, num max food dot maximum equal to globals dot upper max food. And then once we set the values, or the minimum maximum, because we want to do that first so that when we set the value it's not out of the bounds of the minimum and maximum, then I'm just going to set this equal to the minimum. Okay. And so far I've done a whole bunch of hand wavy stuff and I haven't actually shown you what this does. I want to do one more thing though. I want to set, no, let's not worry about that right now. Okay, so I need to set up this. Okay. So we load this and I want, first I want to I'll put down here a little to-do. To-do is draw grid. Now, since we're not changing the size of the grid, we can actually have that happen first. But then what we want to do is we want to open up the prompt. Okay. Right. So going back to not the design, this one. We want to make an instance of the prompt. So this is making an instance of this class using the default constructor, and this is the constructor right here. So this is object oriented programming. Everything in C# is stuck into an object within a namespace. So you have a namespace, and then within the namespace you can have a class or a struct or an enumeration, and we will get to that. What? Oh, did I not resize this? That's fine. Uh-oh. Now you can't see enter game settings. Okay. Let's move this. There. Okay. How's everybody doing so far? No. Oh, right, I got it. Okay. So I just put... Wait, I don't have to do that. You can just put the breakpoint on this bracket. Yay, because it's not Python. Alright, because in Python there are no brackets. Alright. What this should do now is when I run it, it's going to load this form, but then it's going to load this form. But I want to do center. Yeah, we won't worry about that at the moment. So the game form loads. We don't have anything to draw the grid right now, but then it pops us up with a prompt. And then we want to be able to save off the values that we're grabbing from there. But we're not going to do that right now. I'm just going to run it. And it will pop up with the form and then the other. Oh. That's really blurry. Okay, so 3 is the lowest and 20 is the max. See, that's what the numeric up down did. And, you know, it didn't work to have... This is really funky. Okay, that's blurry. And this does nothing, start does nothing right now. So, and like the form isn't popping up, the other form. But then when I close it, we hit this breakpoint. So that's when we get to see this form. Okay. So let me need to do a couple things. Need in globals. Oh, wait. Oh, I forgot to show one thing. Easy, hard, squid, I don't know. How's your day? I ate a chainsaw. It was dope. So there are options. But these are just hard-coded right now. They are just... in items in here. Remember? We stuck them in here. Easy, hard, squid. I don't know. How's your day? I ate a chainsaw. It was dope. All right. Let's get rid of that. And... okay. I'm going to stop for a sec. See how everyone's doing. And as far as the downgrade, like quality wise, there's probably a setting or something that I have to set. You know, programming is a lot of work. And it's like one of the most frustrating things you can possibly do. It's like, why is this crashing? Why is this doing this? But, you know, when things work... Right now we're not doing anything too complicated. So it's not likely to explode. But... It's the most euphoric feeling when things actually work. Oh. Oh, was it just not loading the comments? We've got... okay, yeah, looking good so far. Where's medium? Medium doesn't sound like a difficulty to me. From easy to hard. Fancy. We have a backwards R. Is that one of the Cyrillic? I don't remember. And then some Cyrillic, some Russian. I don't know what that says. I've only seen a little bit of Russian. What was it? I watched a show on Netflix called The Sniffer. It was a Ukrainian show that was in German. It was... forgive me if I get the pronunciation wrong. I think in Russian it was like Newhach or something like that. Okay, Poshfret, fairly understandable so far. Now, if you made me replicate this, I'd be lost. Seal, I think I'm falling more than last time. Same, pretty okay. I unfortunately got a little distracted by something, so I'll need to catch up a little. Be right back. I would actually set 1 as the minimum, but still have it show 3 by default. Okay, yeah, I can do that. And so, and we're setting the default just by setting the value right here, setting value. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a default max food. Set the minimum to 1. Set default. And I'm putting in caps to, like, as kind of a convention to say that this is a constant. There are some conventions that you use for things. Okay, so now instead of setting it to the minimum, we set it to globals dot default max food. Cool. All right, so now if we run it, goes, oh wait, that was, yeah, goes down to 1, goes up to 20, but it started at 3. I could also make it reset, like put a button to reset to default. And easy, hard, squid, I don't know. How's your day? I had a chainsaw, it was dope. All right. Wait, why is that still there? It's still here. All right. Oh, did I press cancel? I might have pressed cancel. Oops. All right, cool. So that's closed. Difficulty. Cool. And since we are having the weird issues right now, I'm just gonna resize this. Move it over a bit. I'm just gonna see, make sure I'm not missing any comments. Okay, so now in globals, what I want to do is I want to add an enumeration, and I'll explain as I go. Okay, so we want public enum. Let's just, what would it be? Difficulty level. And I can do it like that. So, I mean, I don't actually have to do that. So now what this does is we can have a value, say easy, and we can set it to a default. And then we can have medium. But by default, if you don't specify the values, it should just go 0, 1, 2. I think it's kind of nicer to specify. But you don't need to. I don't need to include the int here either. I don't really know if that's going to gain me much. So we are specifying here in globals, we're specifying our difficulty. And hard, insane. Oh, how did they do that? Was that like a helper? Do I want to do that? me see. Just quick. Tie string to enum. Ah, never mind. We can just do this for now. Sanic. Because this is based on the speed. Sure. We can change this whenever. We're just sticking in globals so that anything has access to it. I made it public, right? Yep. Okay, we're good. So now I want to set the this isn't the best way to do this. We don't need enum. Oh wait, but let's see. I think I did something. Reference assemblies. Ah, screw it. Go away. I think I did something in the binary mapping viewer that I might be able to. View code. How do I refresh the comments? Or the chat? Okay. Binary byte formatting. Ah, that's in the binary mapper. Okay. So I just have, yeah. And then here, where did I do that? Okay, here we go. Okay, I did a loop. Okay. Can I just dump it directly though? Okay, let's see. So the name of it is combo difficulty. I want to add items. Okay. Dot items add. No, I don't want to add one. I want to add range. Adds an array of items to the list. Okay. That's a string. Cool. But now we need to change this to globals dot. Oh. No. We just directly use difficulty level. All right, let's see if this works. So what this will do, let's change this to easy, medium, hard. I'm just gonna refresh the video, make sure I'm missing chat. Okay. Insane. Sanic. Okay, so what this does, there's in the enum class, there's a method called getNames, and you pass it in a type of, which returns a type of this enum, but it grabs the names that are in your enumeration. So these names that I have. Also, if you see, it shows Sanic equals 4, Insane equals 3, Hard equals 2, Medium equals 1, and Easy equals 0. So that's how it defaults. Want show potential fixes? Rename Sanic. I did. Okay. Anyway, so this will add a bunch of items, but they have to be an array of objects is what that is. And this returns string, so I think we should be good. Easy, medium, hard, insane, Sanic. Yeah, it worked. Oh, did the stream go offline? Are we good now? Okay, I'm back and I can see it. Okay, so I thought that there was an issue with the chat. So we're good now. What was the last thing you guys heard? Okay. I forget, it came back up a while ago. Okay. Anyway, so this line is dynamically grabbing the values of the enumeration here, the names of them, not the values, and it's sticking those into this combo box. Don't worry about it, just keep going. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do, let's put some comments in. Set upper, lower, and default value of max food. And now this is setting difficulty options, and now we want to set default difficulty. Okay. And the way we're going to set the default difficulty is we have to set the combo difficulty dot selected index equal to whatever index we want. We could also have it set the selected item or selected index equal to index where the value is, I don't know, like Sanic or something. But I think we want to have the default be easy. We could have the default be medium. And actually, a better way of doing this, so it doesn't matter what order the enumerations are in, is if we do this. Set int difficulty dot easy. So this returns an enumeration. So if I get rid of this int typecast, oh, does it? Yeah, it says cannot implicitly convert type snake dot difficulty level to int. An explicit conversion exists. Are you missing a cast? And this is the cast. So it says, okay, whatever gets returned from here, treat it as an integer. Hi, honey. All right, so we're gonna run, and now here we go. We got a difficulty of easy. Max food is 3, and start. So we can change our difficulties. Oh, yeah, I need to fix that. Okay. I want to disable edit. Read only. Okay, I'm going to look this up. So we want disable what was it, a combo box? Edit. Typing. Disable combo box typing. Combo box dot drop down style to combo box style dot drop down list. Yeah. I thought there was an easy way. Drop down style. So now you can't enter things into the drop down. You have to just select. Yeah, there we go. All right. So now we still don't have a way to get to the actual game, which means what we need to do is gonna double click start game, and it's gonna create a little, oh gosh darn it, I didn't name the button. So let's call it button start. And now what we want to do is so we want to pass back the difficulty and the max food to the calling form. And the way I'm going to do that is using properties. So in a class you have a member, which is a private variable that the class has access to. Or it can be public. But usually what you want to do is you want to make a property which is just a variable that you modify who can access it and what happens when you try to access it. So we have we want to return difficulty level, So public difficulty level, and I'll just call it cap difficulty. And then you have a getter and a setter, and we want what's it? Private variable that we set using this property, difficulty level, and then I do M for member difficulty. We just set it to a default of easy. Doesn't matter. And so we get difficulty is going to return M difficulty level. And then if we wanted to set the difficulty, what would that do? We just want that to set M difficulty equal to value. There we go. So this is our first property. And you'll see what we need these for in a second. I just copied it so that I can now use this, change it to, I mean, I guess it could be a decimal. I don't think it matters. Decimal. Call this M max food. Set the default to globals dot default max food. Call this M max food, or no, max food. Change this to decimal, which is going to make everything inside here explode. So I have to change this to, there you go. All right, so a bunch of burgers and fries. Are you eating, hun? Got some yummy food? Oh, max food. Okay, I got it. You're funny. Okay, so all we want to happen here is we want to close the dialog. How do we do this? Well, actually, yeah. So we're going to set M difficulty equal to combo difficulty. Wait. We want the selected item but we want the Posh Ferret. Thank you for the stream. I didn't stay for long, but I think I learned a thing or two. Woo. Let me know if you're doing this again. Will do. Yeah. I know, I was kind of thinking we'd be able to quickly come up with a grid. But yeah, I was thinking for like a more in-depth game, it would be multiple streams. Multiple segments. But for this, it'll probably also be multiple segments realistically. I just want to try to get a couple more things working. But I'm glad you enjoyed and learned something. It's, you know, it's its own language, man, and yeah, hon, I know there's a lot of icons, and believe me, my computer needs some cleanup. But I've been busy. It's not that important, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Oh, it's better to have multiple icons than to have to declare tab bankruptcy. Although I'm currently only using Firefox because Chrome has been stupid. And I didn't want it to do stupid things during the stream. Okay, so what we want oh, Seal, you'll be right back again. Okay. So, Hun, to catch you up. Right now, we're just setting up Snake. And this is still not displaying proper. This is what we got so far. Got a little icon. It's a snake. It's a snake! That's what we got. But we started out talking about some other projects that I had. Oh, okay. Let me think this through. So, we want to set the enum to the enum that matches. Let's just change this to M difficulty. That matches the text of the selected item. How are you, hon? Hello? Can you hear? Huh? Yeah, well. Welcome back, sis. We having connection issues? Okay, you can hear me. Minazuki-san might have left for a bit. Alright, so I just wrote this note. We want to set M difficulty to the, oops, not Numi, enum. Come on, Chris. To the enum that matches the text of the selected item. So that way it doesn't matter what order these are in. We're not looking for, actually, That doesn't matter. Okay, this becomes so much easier then. You can hear? Okay, cool. So all I gotta do is I have to typecast I'm pretty sure it should just work like this. I have to typecast the combo difficulty dot selected index. Since this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how it shows up as the index. So if I select easy, the index will be 0. So then if I just set that as an enumeration and return that, then we're all square. All right, cool. And then I want to set max food equal to, did I do I didn't. Okay. I did decimal, so don't need to mess with that. To new max food dot value. All right, so now the reason I did that was because now I can access those properties from the prompt. Difficulty. And new max value, I can access them. So if I need to do one more thing. I need to, so I set those two values, and then I need to, this is form prompt, or this instance of it, and then I want to close. All right, should be all I need to do. All right, so easy, max food, if we go to start, then if I go to prompt, there are a lot of properties, but I'm just trying to get to the ones that I made. Difficulty is easy, and max food is 3. Oh wait, you're behind by 17 minutes. So by making it a property, I can now access and store those values locally here. So let's just make some private. I should also specify, if you don't put a modifier of public or private, it defaults to private, but I think it's better to be more explicit. Some private. I'm just going to do this. Going to steal it. Oopsie. Steal it. Steal it. Oh yeah. Gonna steal it. Cool. So now I can set the values in form snake equal to prompt dot difficulty and prompt dot max food. Oops. All right, so Then rebuilding, like I explained, recreates the executable, and that's what I'm running. Xil, I may have to go in a bit. How much longer are you planning on streaming? Well, since Posh Ferret took off, probably won't go a lot longer because I feel like getting into the grid stuff's gonna be that's gonna be pretty involved. How we want to go about doing that. So I'm pretty much done, I think. I've got this prompt up where you can select difficulty, you can set max food, and it can't go outside the bounds. So, and then you press start, and now we have it so it's returning snake.difficulty-level.sanic and max food 20. So this is what we needed for user input to determine what the difficulty in max food should be. So the next step will just be setting up snake. So I think I put this to do, and then, you know, right now this pops up. It says snake, but we don't have any, you know, game. And we don't have a way of, like, keeping track of high scores and stuff, but, you know, that's small potatoes. The next thing is definitely going to be that grid. And I wanted to point out, these to-dos are nice because they show up in your task list. I thought there was a way... I think there's a way of configuring other tags like this to show up in a task list. And you can search your task list, so... But that's the next step, to do, draw a grid. So I'll come back to this project, and I'll see in to do, draw a grid. It's handy. So we've got a graphics folder that contains a snake icon. We've got 2 forms, and one calls the other as a dialog box. That's why we had this set to fixed dialog instead of fixed flat for the... Doko. Just clicked on the wrong one. Yeah, so it's set to fixed dialog, which allows us, instead of just doing .show, to do .show dialog. And I don't know why the form hadn't loaded yet. Probably because of show dialog. But what show dialog allows is for us to return a dialog result, like dialog result.ok, or yes, or cancel. But since we only have one button, I'm not even worrying about that. I'm just closing it. Like, I could set the return. I could set this .dialog result, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But we don't need to, because I'm not using it. I'm not checking to see if the result is okay or cancel or whatnot. We just open it, and it has all the defaults for difficulty and max food, and then you select, and when you press start game, it starts the game. Well, let me check. Font. Oh, it is still Microsoft Sans Serif. What are you on about? Alright. Nah. It works. That's... This is just fine, picky stuff at the moment, but I think I'm pretty happy. Why? This is not the same size that I made it. Is it because it's fixed dialogue? It's fixed single. And then it just still shows up. Okay. Yeah, I honestly don't. I think I can just do show dialogue anyway. Am I not? Have I not saved the new dimensions? No, I think it's just being doofy. But now that's too big. Like, that doesn't need to be that wide. Oh, except it looks normal. Why is it like half the size? Probably because I'm opening a show dialogue. I don't know. There are a lot of weird eccentricities to Microsoft stuff. I also don't like how cryptic they make all their stuff. It's like, oh, we're cryptic. You try to figure out how they're actually implementing something. It's like, no, it's like this is just how you do it. Here, these are all the functions we have, and this is how you do it. Except, they're such a pain in the ass. Like, I don't even remember what I was trying to find, but they made it so annoying. Anyway, yeah. I think that's a good place to stop. We got 3 constants in our globals. We can add other globals in here too. We've got our difficulty levels, and we have it all set up so that you don't have to like go into the designer, go over here and set your items like we did before. You know, we don't have I ate a chainsaw. It was dope. Yeah. Change the fonts and other stuff. And, you know, we're on our way to making a game. I need to move start. Start is off center. Okay. Okay, let's see. That's better. Okay. Cool. Snake. Oh, except if you do close, then it doesn't set those values. So I should... Okay, I'll do that quick. Let's just set this dot dialog result equal to dialog result dot okay. And then let's... This is, I think, the easiest way to do it. Hello? Let's just, at the top of form prompt.load, make sure that the dialog result is not okay. Let's just set it equal to cancel. And so then, when we do show dialog, we're gonna do using, which makes it so that this variable that I'm... No, wait, that's not right. Never mind. That's a different thing. Dialog result equals prompt.show dialog, and then if dialog result dot Okay. If result. So if this result is dialog result.ok, then we're going to set these values. Otherwise, we're just going to shut it down because they don't want to play. So this dot close. And then that will end the program, since all that happens in program.cs is it runs form.snake. Once form.snake is done, it goes out of main, and it's all done. So that did not work. What do you mean result? Okay, something's off. Oh. No, I may not be able to do it this simply. Okay. Exit. Result. And then close. Alright, so there we go. Okay, I fixed it. I just had to move setting it into the form prompt instead of into load, because since it's doing show dialog, I guess if you set the dialog result in load, it immediately returns. Yeah, so don't do that. Form, okay. So now if I run it, this is, now we have it set up where you can exit it, or you can go into the game. So this would go into the game. Actually, we can do this better. Yeah. So if I change this to dialog.cancel, and then I move these out of here. So only if it is, when actually, let's change this to not okay. If it's not okay, we're going to close, but we're also going to terminate, exit, and oh, we're just going to return. So it won't hit this code. It will return from the load method before it hits this code. I shall show you. All right, so everything's set. We go start. We hit here. All right, cool. So now let's restart, and we exit, and boom. Perfect. All right, cool. Well, that has been Programming with Hoto, part 2. We're making snake. We're making snake! Started with cake, now we're on snake. So thanks for the stream. Good job today. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know things are still, you know, for someone who's not, for people that, you know, aren't savvy programmers. I mean, I'm not super savvy. I know what I'm doing with different languages. C# I'm pretty comfortable with. The snake made you jump. Yeah, sorry about that. But you know, like, this is a learning opportunity. I get to do some programming and, you know, for fun and feel confident in my abilities and answer questions you may have. Well, I answer questions you do have, because shit's confusing, y'all. It just is. Anyway. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining me. And sometime in the future, look out for Programming with Hoto, Part 3. We're going to go do more Snake. And figure out that grid. I have some ideas, but I don't know what's going to be less of a pain in the ass. Okay. Well, see y'all later. Bye-bye.